Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live presentation of this read along and conversation. I have the lovely wine librarian with me this evening, and we're going to be talking a little bit about a book that we collaborated on, STIM-Tastic. It is a book about two twins who happens to be on the spectrum, and they discover that their STEMs are something that they should not shy away from, and is something that they should actually embrace. When I first wrote this book, I didn't want it to limit its reach, and so Spanish being a very common language within our country and something that we should be proud about, I really reached into my bag and my network and I found the lovely wine librarian to assist me in this. And so I'm going to pause for a second and have her introduce herself to you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karina, and I'm the wine librarian. I'm an actual librarian, but I'm also the mother of a beautiful boy on the spectrum. So this was a beautiful opportunity and something that I was very, very happy to collaborate with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karina. So I also have a son, number four. He's 4 years old, and he was recently diagnosed this last summer. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more and how we navigate that life and that choice of being a parent with someone on the spectrum and some of those challenges, and then also the highlights of it, because it's not all low lights in this journey. And so that's what we're hoping to highlight within this book. So without further ado, we will take an opportunity to read this book to you all. We're going to take turns. So I'm going to read a page in English. Then we're going to tag team with Karina, and she's going to do it in Spanish as well. So we make sure everybody who is listening gets a chance to see it in both languages. So without further ado, here is STIM-Tastic. Oh, let me see. You would think I've read this book before. This is a new one, so it's not as creased. So, alrighty. So Jade and Jaden were twins. Although they looked a lot alike, each was perfect in their own way. The main difference was their stems, unique as can be. It's what makes them extra special, their parents would often say. Jade would chew on her favorite necklace at any sign of doubt or fear. Jaden would flap his arms and hands whenever excitement was near.
Jade y Jaden eran mellizos, y aunque se parecían muchísimo, cada uno era especial a su manera. La principal diferencia eran sus STEMs, únicos como pueden ser. Es lo que nos hace tan especiales, solían decir sus padres. Jade mordía su collar favorito cada vez que se sentía duda o miedo. Jaden agitaba los brazos y las manos siempre que la emoción estaba cerca.
Why do we do this? Jaden asked one bright and sunny day. Are there other kids out there who STEM and feel this way? Jaden suddenly had a great idea. Let's go and explore. Maybe take a peek. We might find some new friends with STEMs just as unique.
¿Y por qué hacemos esto?, preguntó Jade. En un día radiante y soleado, ¿habrán otros niños por ahí que se mueven como nosotros y sienten lo mismo? Jaden tuvo una gran idea. Vamos a explorar y a curiosear un poco. Quizás encontremos nuevos amigos con movimientos tan únicos como los nuestros.
So they started their journey, excited as can be. Let's head to the park, Jade shouted with glee. There will be lots of kids at the park ready to play, excited to show us their stems in their own special way.
Así emprendieron su aventura, llenos de ilusión y alegría. Vamos al parque, gritó Jade con alegría. En el parque nos esperan muchos niños con ganas de jugar, ansiosos por enseñarnos sus movimientos, cada uno a su manera especial.
At the park, they met Mia in the sandbox nearby, letting sand slip through her fingers with a satisfied sigh. I love how it feels, Mia said with a grin. The textures are magic. They calm me within. Then they met Will, who jumped and spun. I can't stay still. It's just too much fun. He twirled like the wind and bounced like a ball. It makes me so happy when I move. That's all.
En el parque conocieron a Mia, que jugaba en el arenero cercano, dejando que la arena se deslizara entre sus dedos como un suspiro de satisfacción. Me encanta cómo se siente, dijo Mia, con una gran sonrisa. Las texturas son mágicas, me tranquilizan por dentro. Después conocieron a Will, que saltaba y giraba sin parar. No puedo quedarme quieto. Es demasiado divertido jugar. Giraba como el viento y rebotaba como un balón. Mi cuerpo se siente libre cuando me muevo y esa es la razón.
Next, they found Leo, who loved to make beats, tapping the ground with rhythm so sweet. Thump, 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 he said with a cheer. This is my music. It's so fun to hear. Near the slide, they saw Lucy sniffing the air, finding sweet scents that were floating in from everywhere. I love the smell of grass, flowers, and trees. It brings me joy and puts me at ease.
Después encontraron a Leo, que adoraba hacer ritmos, golpeando el suelo con melodías muy dulces. Pum, 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 decía contento. Esta es mi música y me encanta escucharla. Cerca del tobogán vieron a Lucy, olfateando el aire, descubriendo olores dulces que venían de todas partes. Me encantan los olores de las flores y de los árboles. Me tranquilizan, me hacen sentir bien.
Then they made Ella, lining up rocks and sticks to make them look neat. She went back to count them to make sure her line was complete. I like the order, she said with pride. It helps my thoughts settle down inside. By the swings, they met Max, who loved to sway. He would go back and forth on the swings all day. It fills me with joy, Max said with a grin, like I'm floating on air with the breeze on my skin.
Después conocieron a Ella, que colocaba piedras y palitos en fila para que quedaran bien ordenados. Volvía a contarnos una y otra vez para asegurarse de que la fila estaba completa. Me gusta el orden, dijo con orgullo. Me ayuda a que mis pensamientos estén tranquilos. Junto a los columpios conocieron a Max, que adoraba balancearse, podía ir hacia adelante y hacia atrás en el columpio durante todo el día. Me ayuda a sentirme libre, dijo Max, con una sonrisa como si flotara en el aire, con la brisa en mi piel.
By the pond, they met Sam with a bright yellow stick, flicking it fast, making motions so quick. It helps me stay focused when my mind starts to race or when I need to slow down and find my own pace. Under the big oak tree, they met Maya, standing tall. She loved to push and lean against the sturdy tree wall. I like how it feels, she said with a smile. It keeps me happy, even if it's just for a while.
Junto al estanque se encontraron con Sam y su palo marrón. Lo movía tan deprisa, hacía gestos muy rápido. Me ayuda cuando estoy nervioso o necesito calmarme. Siempre consigo que mi tristeza se convierta en alegría. Debajo del gran roble conocieron a Maya, que se mantenía de pie, firme. Le encantaba empujar y apoyarse contra el tronco fuerte del árbol. Me gusta cómo se siente, dijo con una sonrisa. Me ayuda a mantenerme con los pies en la tierra y me hace feliz, aunque solo sea por un ratito.
Throughout the day, Jade and Jaden could see that everyone's stems were different and helped them feel free. From flapping to clapping to spinning around, each stem makes you special, your very own magical crown.
A lo largo del día, Jade y Jaden se dieron cuenta que los movimientos de cada uno eran distintos y les ayudaban a sentirse libres, desde agitar las manos hasta aplaudir o girar sin parar. Cada movimiento te hace especial, como si llevaras tu propia corona mágica.
As they headed back home, the twins felt a sense of pride. Their stems were amazing. It was nothing to hide. Jade, your chewing helps you enjoy your day, and my flapping shows the joy that my words may not say.
De camino a casa, los gemelos sintieron orgullo. Sus movimientos eran maravillosos y no había nada que ocultar. Ya de masticar es algo precioso. Y mis aleteos muestran la alegría que mis palabras no pueden expresar.
Together they shouted, we're STIM-Tastic and proud. Our stems make us special. They stand out in any crowd. With a smile, they knew their stems were their power, a gift to embrace every minute and every hour.
Juntos gritaron, somos STIM-Tásticos y estamos orgullosos. Nuestros movimientos nos hacen especiales, brillamos entre la gente. Por fin se dieron cuenta que sus movimientos STEMs eran su poder, un regalo para abrazar cada minuto, cada día, cada hora del día.
So remember, dear reader, the stems that you do are part of your magic and a part of you too. Own your stems, let them shine and let them sing. For being yourself, it's a wonderful thing.
Así que recuerda, querido lector, que los movimientos que haces son parte de tu magia y también parte de ti. Abraza tus movimientos y déjalos brillar y cantar, porque ser tú mismo es algo maravilloso.
Awesome. The end.
I made it without crying.
I think I've cried enough with this book and just in general. So I was like, I'm not cried out, but it was
Oh my
it was one of those projects that you're super proud of. Like you have a lot of ideas and you see stuff, and then when you write a book, I've written a couple of books, but this one just kind of hits home because when you have one in your house, it's just a little bit different. I think it's easy to see it, and I was hoping, and I think when I embarked on this journey, I felt as though there's a lot of autism awareness, education. We talk about it. We have a whole month. There's a day, but the acceptance piece is missing, and I think they don't truly understand as autism parents or just in general are having being autism aunt, cousin, brother, sibling, whatever that case may be, how much energy it takes to actually want to be outside. Like we shouldn't deprive ourselves of everyday experiences that we see in life are embarked because our child has an extra need or may need something to supply or suppress their anxiety or X, Y, and Z. So it takes a lot for us to bring them outside. And so when you see them jumping or lining stuff out, like instead of giving the side eye or like being not understanding why that child is reacting that way, being more open to maybe they need this to let out that energy for a moment and then they're going to be fine right after. And so again, that education piece is definitely missing. So we're going to go into a couple of questions. We won't hold you guys too long, but we have some just to kind of keep the dialogue going and so you can hear from our vantage point. So the first question that I have for you, Karina, what was your initial kind of reaction when you first started recognizing that, your son may be a little bit different? I don't know if he's the oldest or if you have other kids, but like
only child.
what is that? So only child. So what does that look like? And, did you catch yourself playing the comparison game or doing all those type of things with your son?
I'm gonna be very honest. He was always with me at home, my only child. And I failed to recognize certain signs. My husband saw them first.
Mm,
And I couldn't believe it in the beginning because I didn't have enough knowledge
mm-hmm,
of what really autism was. And I didn't even want to hear it until it was my son's second birthday, and I
mm-hmm,
noticed all the kids around, and I know, okay, he's different,
mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna do a disservice if I don't. And it was hard. It was a shock. It was a shock, and but I had a lot of beautiful people around me, and my family that had our backs, and that made it easier.
Awesome. And how old is he now?
He's 11. He's gonna be 12 in a month.
Look at that. Look at that. And I'm sure you can speak and provide that encouragement for other autism moms, the difference, the intervention, and some of the things, and if you can talk through a little bit of that. I know before two, you were kind of in denial, but then once you decided to accept that he was different and pour into him, what were some of the things that you guys, tried or put him in to kind of see the progress that you're seeing now at almost 12 years old?
Early intervention, I will say, as soon as you notice, every kid is different, so you're going to see different signs. In our case, our son is level 3 on the spectrum, so his signs were evident. He was nonverbal, and he had many other conditions additional to that one. And early intervention changed the game for us. We started working on and behaviors and how we communicated and how we tackled things. And starting at a young age made us easier to navigate the world, not only schools, therapy. We knew, okay, we're going to go to the park. Now let's try with a visual schedule, something that I didn't know nothing about before. So ABA prepare us for a lot of those things that helps him navigate the world, a world that is not prepared for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world keeps moving and they sometimes take our kiddos in consideration. And I feel like that probably was like the biggest help, learning, immersing myself into going to therapy, volunteering so I can learn, see, and be with other kids a little bit different than him. So I feel like therapy is very important. We did music therapy, we did gymnastics, and we tried a little bit of everything. We found what worked for him.
Mm.
He loved movement, he's very active. So gymnastics was a great way to keep him active and regulate himself, learn all these like super good toys, trampolines to have in the house to keep him busy. But all our kiddos are so different. Others prefer to be more quiet or be more calm. Others, like my son, have energy; they bounce off the walls.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. So I think we were the actual opposite. I noticed first, and I was like, something's not wrong, but he's not hitting those milestones. I had him 6 weeks early.
mhm,
So we definitely took that into consideration, like, oh, maybe he's just, he's always 6 weeks behind. So like,
no,
and a crazy story about me is I was actually
mhm,
pregnant at the same time with my best friend. She was actually 6 weeks ahead of me. And so every time she would hit a milestone in her pregnancy, I knew what to expect going forward.
mhm,
I ended up going into labor before her, and Cam is actually older than his god brother, but they're born on the same day, just hours apart. So I have this other child that I can compare, my godson, who was, 40 weeks, and, he's reading, he's doing all this stuff, like he's talking, and I'm just like, Cam's not doing that. And so I'm like, oh, well, maybe because he was 6 weeks behind, he'll catch up. And there were some times when he would or he wouldn't. And so I was like, I'm a big fan of, like, if we have the resources, and I thank God that, I had kids a little bit earlier, we're well off. You know what I'm saying? If I had had him younger, maybe I didn't have the resources to be able to
yeah,
pay for all the speech therapy and things like that. So I'm like, why not? It won't hurt. And so my husband was a little bit hesitant, like, oh, he'll come around, you just baby him too much and you got him in this little bubble and X, Y, and Z, which I
mhm,
did, because again, my first child, and he came early. So we were going through this, we were trauma bonding at this point. And so the pediatrician was like, hey, I want to refer him to a program called Babies Can't Wait here in Georgia. And so he started the speech therapy. We still weren't seeing a lot of progress, but then he would say some stuff, and then he would make some, he'd grab your hand and drag you to what you need. And we saw the signs. When he would get excited, he's flapping his hands. He would get hyper focused on anything that would spin. And so, I'm going to rabbit hole. Google will tell you everything. Does my kid have this? Does it have that? And so I'm like, if it barks like a dog, it might be a dog. So I'm like, we're pushing for it. And then, some people will say, don't, autism is a buzzword now. Everybody's getting a diagnosis. If you go in for a diagnosis, you're going to get it. And so, well, just wait. 2 may be too early. Wait till 3, wait till 4. So we ended up pulling the trigger this past summer after he turned 3, because I'm like, we've given him all the speech therapy. He's done this OT. We're still not seeing it. Like, maybe we need to, go in our back pocket. We need all hands on deck. He'll be in kindergarten in a couple years. We don't want them to diagnose our child or tell us that he has issues. I'd rather present it to them and get ahead of it. So he actually did go through with it, and he did have a diagnosis. To you, I thank the village. There has not been a time that, we're in Georgia, we don't have a lot of family up here. So our support system is friends, families, is people. And every time that I was looking for childcare for Camden or needed support, God would just put somebody in my plate, like just put it
mhm.
in there, and they would pour into him, and then he would, max out of their level of care. And so now we had to go to the next level. He was like, he was graduate. He's had like 50 graduations, and he's only 4. So, but our
I know.
last graduation was, a lady named Tessa. Hopefully you don't care I drop her name, because she's amazing. I'm Team Tessa. She was like, she worked with him one-on-one, and he had made so many strides. And she was like, Leslie, I can only do so much. ABA would be so great for Camden, because Camden's also, that we found out, he's a GLP, so he's a Gestalt language processor, and he has hyperlexia. So he can read. He may have a speech delay, but he's reading. And so he's reading stuff off the walls and stuff like that, but he's not communicating. And that could be frustrating, because I'm asking you questions, you're echoing things, and I'll be the first to say I don't know everything. So if I can't help him, I'm going to pay whatever I need to pay or get him in whatever he needs to be in
Yes.
to help him. And so I learned that very, very, very early, thankfully. And we were open to it. And like my husband is definitely open to it now. And we recognize his challenges. But I also feel like, as an autism mom, you'll probably tie in, we also have to not treat them as though they have, we treat them regular. We definitely have some accommodations, but they are smart. They know exactly what
They're
they're doing.
very, they are
They
very
know
smart.
they know what they can get away with, what they can't. And so like I find myself also like, I don't want to, vary the parenting style. Like, I definitely still want to give him, there's feedback for when you do things that you shouldn't do because you're not supposed to do that. And so we don't try to, modify the discipline because he truly understands and he'll tell you. And so although, and I think it's also what you touched on is I see a lot of comments on like, oh, he doesn't look like he's autistic. And so I know you said like level 3, like you can see like some of your the signs in your son are very glaring. And Camden, it wasn't. Like, he's level 1, so they consider him high functioning. And I feel like that's scarier because they're assuming that he can do everything that a regular child can do, our kid that doesn't have a neurotypical child, I should say. But that's not always the case. And there's not as much grace extended because, well, he's talking. He can do this. He can do that. He can
That's
follow directions.
that's part of the
Yeah.
problem. We don't educate ourselves enough to understand that levels are just basically the amount of help they're gonna need, right? Could be level 1, he still needs help. He
Mm-hmm.
still has problems navigating the outside world. This bubble that we create at home is very well known to them, and this is their safe space. My son, he's a very social kid, very loving kid, especially he loves women. and
Ladies, man.
and most people don't realize there's anything different about him. And
Yeah.
navigating airports are very hard because they don't understand why he needs special accommodations,
Mm-hmm.
why he need to board the airplane first, and people complain and their starts, and you feel as a parent you're constantly protecting and explaining
Mm-hmm.
your child's, need. It shouldn't be that way. It should not.
Absolutely.
We should respect just know that we will not know all the story, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why this kid needs to board first. There's a reason why they put him in a wheelchair and medicate him for the flight,
Yeah.
or all of these little things. And it is important that we use this month to talk about these things and the differences. Their difference, their levels. There's way is more complicated than just autism.
It
My
is.
my son has apraxia,
Mm-hmm.
ADHD. So there are other things. It's a whole spectrum, and it's beautiful to use this month to put it out there.
You already kind of talked a little bit about some of the challenges that people don't see and don't talk about with, seeing people board planes a little bit earlier, or maybe they needing the extra time for that, or if they're out and they have, the leash book bags. I always said I would never have a leash book bag, and I would be, judging the parent, like, why do you have? Then I was like living that life because they elope, and it's a safety concern, or just different things that they come about. So I definitely agree with that. And that kind of answers our question for that one. So I'll kind of go back into we have like last 2 questions before we wrap up. How do you hope children and parents of neurotypical and then also neurodivergent on the spectrum would feel about reading this book?
Oh my God. I knew that question was going to take me. When I read the book, when I was translating the book, I felt a beautiful feeling that all kids were represented. You didn't have the kid that only flapped their hands. You had the kid that have movement. You really represented all these beautiful stems that all kids have because they're all different. And I know there are moments that they feel different. And I think this book is a very good way to teach neurotypical kids that you will meet friends that are going to be different. And all these things are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them. And then we have all neuroatypical beautiful babies that you will read this book and you will show them, you see, you are not different. You're just yourself. You're just unique. And I think this book will also make us, the parents, feel our baby seen. Like I cried so many times with the book. And I just found it so beautiful. And I really hope this book can get in the hands of many kids and parents that need to read it. They need this message. They need to feel, okay, I am okay. I can do this. I can esteem and nobody will look at me differently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many others like me. It's not just me. So I think that's just the most beautiful message this book will put out there.
I love that. That's kind of the best review, I guess, any author could probably ask for. And I think that was the main purpose behind it is, again, we talk about representation, and representation matters. And when you're looking through different children's books and you're seeing and trying to how to navigate those conversations, like I'm a big reader, so like we have a lot of books in our home, and so there weren't characters that look like my son or other kids that are like him, and so there are varying levels as you mentioned, and so this book is just a drop in a bucket a very small drop in a bucket. There's so many other things that are yet to be tackled, and I hope that I can make this a series and kind of go down that kind of, not even like a rabbit hole, but just explore all the different things, because I'm learning in real time too. Like I'm really in the very early stages of this journey with my son, so there's still a lot of things that I don't know, especially for the type of like language processor he is. So like that has my wheel turning about like kind of find a book for someone who scripts and processes in chunks, or even for the nonverbal kid, like can I write a book for a nonverbal kid who eventually finds his voice or his words, because it may not verbally come out of his mouth, but that doesn't mean he's unable to communicate. So like communication can really vary. And so I really hope that the person reading this book understands that this was written for them. And but the biggest thing is I want those neurotypical families and kids to understand, because they're in classrooms with our kids. They are
Mhm.
seeing it. And so having them have a little bit of empathy or understanding of what that looks like or what that child might be going through today, or understanding like, hey, my friend Billy, he lines stuff up, just let him line it up and then he'll be okay. Like, because like once they're in the middle of a stem and you try to interrupt it, like all hell's gonna break loose. Like you got to let them ride that wave, but that comes with, again, understanding, extending that grace and all those different things. So I'm so happy that you love the book and that you made my vision come true of like translating, because I don't ever want language to be a barrier. And I know we're in a very interesting time in this country where, they're trying to suppress different voices and other stuff like that. And children are our future. And this is a lived experience. I don't care who you voted for, what your national creed or whatever is.
Yeah.
Autism comes to those least expecting. Maybe it's generational, maybe you have it in your family. You never know what side of the coin you're going to be on. And if we don't have each other's back and we don't advocate and make sure that these kids are taken care of, we're doing ourselves a disservice with the gift that God gave us. So I can go on a soapbox all day. So we'll wrap up at the end and just say, like, just a little bit before we leave, Karina, like, what does this month mean to you in regards to like autism awareness?
For us, autism awareness is all year round, but for everybody and for the world, April is a very beautiful month. It's a month that we should do a big effort and not only dedicate it to them, but educate everybody around us. Put more information out there. Put more, put more of them, more of what they are, what they like, that they don't get to see, and also talk about how different they can be. Again, for me, it's very important to express that they are different. There are kids that are, more severe on the side of the spectrum, like level 3 or level 1. Their kids are verbal and nonverbal. And this month is the perfect time to teach about this to others and integrate them into a world. Inclusion, is very, very important. It's something that sometimes we forget all through the year. And then we take this month and you see it everywhere and it makes us so happy. We
Mm-hmm.
should keep making an effort to do that outside of April as well.
I agree. It should be every day. It should be all. It should be something that you walk around with. It's a sticker on your car. I mean, even if you look at it, say like, you have, I support this, I support that. Like, hey, I support autism moms or autism families. Those type of things. If you have organizations in your community, it's always great to have your kids, if you're trying to teach them more, have them volunteer, be a buddy, participate in Special Olympics. There's so many other ways where you can learn and expand that knowledge, because what we're learning every day, we all are probably autistic. The spectrum is so wide, and you think about the different things that we do, like, oh, I'm super type A, I like myself organized. You might actually be a little bit autistic, maybe level 1, because it's so wide. But I think we're learning every day that we don't really know what autism looks like. And the more we learn about it, things start to I've met more people who were diagnosed later in life in their 30s and 40s, and now it finally clicked why they did this when they were younger. And you have this old school parenting where parents may think they were going to beat it out of you, or oh, I don't know why you're this way, or we're going to go to, like, all these different things that they really didn't know because they didn't have the access to it. But now we
Yeah.
know. I'm all big proponent of, when you know better, you do better. And
Yes.
so that is pretty much where I'm at. And so happy to be a part and partner with you to help be a part of the solution with educating them. So we're going to wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed this. We will show across the screen again our books with the cover. They are all available on my website. They're available on Amazon. If there's something that you would like to see, a read along that, we can connect you with Karina. She can read it to you in Spanish. I won't even attempt to it. I try to take Spanish. I have a tongue tie, so my tongue will not roll the way that she was able to pronounce these words, but I will get you in contact with her. She'll be tagged here. And again, if you can do anything this month, go love on an autism parent, a child, volunteer, whatever you can do to bring more awareness. That's what we're looking for. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
No problem. Bye.